sweater wetter. And I noticed that we wore the same sweaters a lot. So now I look forward to sweater wetter. Sweater, I can't say that.
I've been looking for a new sweater, but I haven't really found
You have
one.
lots of sweaters. Go to the Ashes to Ruby's shop and you can get a Hope Girls hoodie. Oh my goodness, you look so cute in that.
Yeah, I need it.
So the Hope Boys is actually a spin off Coke Boys, and it's a rap group, and we just know that there's no hope in Coke. So we represent that hope. We hope dealers.
And then we demanded Hope Girls shirts.
And then
That's what happened. We
yeah,
demanded
because there was no like Hope Girls.
Eleanor.
It was demanded. So yeah, we got Hope Girls and Hope Boys, and yeah, we can all share our hope together. I like to represent it on our chest. All right, what do you got for us today, Mrs. Ruby?
October 2nd.
What's for dinner tonight? I've had food anxiety for the last couple nights.
You should take something out of
You know
the
what
freezer.
I like? You know what I like on
Cooking?
a Friday, cold Friday evening is Lone Star. Lone Star fajitas.
We're not eating it.
And some queso. Oh, the queso with that little jalapeno in the middle of it. And the chips. Oh, you can't even get those chips anywhere.
Do you know they have a group for that? For this? Whatever is happening right here? This?
I'm just manipulating.
And I got my friend Karen to send you a link.
I'm just gonna. Hey, whoa! I'm just going to. I'm just setting the stage. I'm trying not to be the director, but it's hard. It's hard.
Coping with husbands.
Is that what it says?
It says coping with families.
Oh.
There are many paths to self-care with families. Some people choose to sever connections with family members for a period of time. Some people choose to stay connected with family members and learn different behaviors. Some disconnect for a time, then slowly return on a different basis. There is no one or perfect way to deal with members of our family in recovery. It is up to each of us to choose a path that suits us. Oh no. I tried to.
Oh my goodness, you need a COVID test.
Allergies.
Yeah, right.
It is up to each of us to choose a path that suits us and our needs at this point in time. The idea that is new to us in recovery is that we can choose. We can set the boundaries we need to set with family members. We can choose a path that works for us, without guilt and obligation or undue influence from any source, including recovery professionals. Our goal is to detach and love with family members. Our goal is to be able to take care of ourselves, love ourselves, and live healthy lives despite what family members do or don't do. We decide what boundaries or decisions are necessary to do this. It is okay to say no to our families when that is what we want. It is okay to say yes to our families if that feels right. It is okay to call time out, and it is okay to go back as a different person. God, help me to choose the path that is right for me with family. Help me understand there is no right or wrong in this process. Help me strive for forgiveness and learn to detach with love however possible. I understand that this never implies that I have to forfeit self-care and health for the good of the system.
The system of recovery? I won't get stuck on that.
I'm stuck.
Um,
Our goal is to detach and love with family members. Our goal is to be able to take care of ourselves, love ourselves, and live healthy lives despite what family members do or don't do. We decide what boundaries or decisions are necessary to do this. Oh, wait, no. This is the paragraph that I want to reread. We can choose. We can set the boundaries we need to set with family members. We can choose a path that works for us without guilt or obligation or undue influence. No, that's not even the one.
So I've been thinking a lot about the names that we can give God and the names of in recovery, which they give God, and that would be director of the play, the director. I'm not the director. The principal, the creator, father, and employer. And so we have a new employer. So in recovery, I think it's really, we can get the concept of like, this was my old life created by the king of my addiction, and I acted accordingly. And so now I have to change all that. But the one thing that we can't really change in our new employment is our family. And so some of that has been some of those relationships have been created in my addicted life, like probably all of them.
Yeah.
And so you can't just like move on from family members.
Right.
But now I can actually be a light in my family. Now I can actually, go to make amends and rebuild these relationships. Some of them are living amends, some of them are physical, some of them are monetary amends. But I think that's where a lot of the tornado happened.
In our families?
In my addiction was towards the people closest to me. So then making amends with them and really setting right some horrific relationships. But a lot of those relationships are from the addiction side of things.
Right.
So I think that's a battle in people's recovery, and working with a sponsor or somebody to be able to guide the processes of recovery. And a lot of family members have addictions as well, and codependency. And so you can't fix that, but you can be a light and be an attractive recovery attraction rather than a promotion. So you're guiding them into a healthy relationship.
When someone's in early recovery, has it worked out well usually when they go back to visit family?
Yeah, that's a different concept where, I see guys that come into town for recovery and they go to visit family members, and a lot of them go back to using.
And do you think,
and then come back here to
do you
hide
think that
out.
concept though would be the same as like when people go on trips?
Go on an airplane.
Yeah.
You know how many
something
people
about-
I've seen relapse on an airplane?
Why is that?
Because there's this familiarity of no one can see me. This is, or the home is like, I'm over here now, and this is a different life. This is addiction life, and this is recovery life over in Ottawa.
And
But
so
I'm
the
here now.
Compartmentalizing and not like recovery isn't going to be my whole life. Recovery is going to be
Parts
this
of my life.
part
Yeah.
of my life.
So I think a lot of people use recovery for pain relief. A lot of
not
people
really
use
surrender.
a relationship with God and Jesus for pain relief. Come and fix my pain. Come and fix my life. But that's not the promise of recovery. That's not the promise of the gospel. It's to like disseminate your life and get a new life. And so, I think there's a lot of rebuilding of trust in relationships, and there's probably a lot of codependency in some of the family relationships because they're a lot closer. So, as God leads you into...
What was your favorite part about coming home from rehab?
I want to go back to rehab. You know when you look at life and you become when you're a kid and you're like, it just sucks. I don't have my own money, and my mom comes into my room.
Is that how you felt at rehab?
And it's like, and then when you get into adulthood, you're like, oh, remember being a kid and like getting allowance? Like, weren't those the days? There's no responsibility. And it's like the same in rehab. It's like, oh, this is so much and it's so hard. And then you go home and you're like, oh, I want to go back to rehab. There's so less craziness going on there. And I just remember coming into the family home again and going like, there is so much responsibility. How did it, like, wow.
I just want to congratulate you again on maintaining your sobriety. I just think I've gained a new appreciation for what an incredible feat that was.
I'm just glad you're
It was definitely
able
not
to see
your
in the
power.
mirror.
It was the
not my
power of God.
It's the power of God. All the power of God.
That you were surrendered and that you worked your program so like diligently and so hard that you were actually able to stay sober, living with a crazy lady.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's really become obvious to me this year.
Know that you are loved and valued,
and I feel
blessed
bad.
and highly favored.
I feel like I took anyway. Good for you. Congratulations.
Good for me.
Way to go.
All right.
We cut the dog's toenails.
Love family. Some of the hardest relationships, some of the most rewarding, some of the most beneficial.
Yeah.
Great support system.
It's easy for us though. We have good families. It's hard. I think that I hear some of the stories and I'm like,
I think everybody,
man, like what a gift to be able to work through like stuff. And so I think it's a good reading, and I think it's worth like reading over, and we can I heard a story last night. I was in a meeting last night, and a guy was telling a story about like a friend who like kept inviting him to come biking, and then every time they'd set a time, and then the guy would get there like half an hour late, and this guy was like, "What time are we going?" And the guy's like, "Oh, I don't really live by a clock, and I just kind of like, I'm a free spirit." And
that guy is self-centered.
Yeah, he's like, maybe if that doesn't work for you, maybe we shouldn't hang out, or maybe we shouldn't go biking together. And this guy like tried it a couple more times, and then was just like, yeah. So one time he just like left. He waited 15 minutes and then he left and went biking by himself. And then the other guy half an hour later starts calling him, and he's like, I never apologized. I just whatever. And then a couple times later, the guy wanted to go biking again, and he agreed again. And then he was like, oh, what am I doing? Like, I can't do this. I can't go biking with you. And I just thought about that, and I think that a lot of us have relationships with family that there's just things that are not acceptable, and yet people accept them because it's family. And so and they don't say anything. And when you don't say anything, you're actually lying. And so I think that and maybe it's not safe for some people that I'm thinking of, that maybe it's not safe for them to say anything. And so actually for their safety and the safety of others,
now you're walking into muddy grounds.
Well,
because it's true, but there's a lot of family members especially that you can't be honest with, because they don't want your honesty. They don't want to.
I've just heard so many
They're in
stories.
denial and driving blindly, driven by fear like I was, and are medicating or whatever. And I really appreciate the relationships that I have that I can be 100% open and honest with.
Yeah, totally. And I think I have that gift too, and in my family, and that there's just so many stories where you think like people, how could they possibly know how to change, what this is talking about? How do you know how to change these patterns and detach with love, or what does that even look like? And I think people can start to ask, like, stop, pause, and ask your higher power of like, I do not, this feels uncomfortable, this is familiar, maybe this shouldn't be happening. Can you just direct me? Can you show me what to do?
But it's funny how many people do not want you to show them they have whipped cream or egg on their face. Like, I would say most people. They just want to walk around with it, and it actually pushes people away when you bring stuff up. And so how do you guide people into healthy relationships? How do you guide people into...
Not everybody wants to know that their fly is down.
But it's...
It's not my job. It's not my job to go around...
everybody wants to know, but then they're embarrassed.
It's not my job to go around telling people their fly is down.
Maybe it is.
Nah.
Maybe it is your job to pass on the message.
I need to worry... I can pass on a message. Yes. But
good stuff here.
If people want to receive it, they receive it, and if they don't, they don't. That's up to them.
Yeah, and I was reminded that it is our job to pass on the message, to carry the message. We actually have to be vocal about it, and not just like, oh, look at my actions, how recovered I am.
Do you think George